Tomfoolery, where two best friends who are not equipped to tell you anything tell you something anyway. I'm Emileigh, and this is Morgan.
Hi.
Yay! How are you?
I'm hanging in there. How are you, beach going gal?
I'm tan.
You are tan.
I look like a zebra from the different bathing suits I wore. And I got so burnt on the beach one day because I forgot to have someone put stuff on my back. And then I proceeded to build multiple sandcastles with my children because I'm a fun mom. No bashing the non-sandcastle building moms. I mostly was building them for myself and just allowed them to help me. But I didn't think about it, and then my back was just exposed to the sun. I ended up, and Morgan knows this is not me, I wore a t-shirt on the beach for 2 days.
Oh my goodness.
Just because I didn't want it to get worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how you know it's bad.
Yeah, because I notoriously, growing up, just wouldn't wear sunscreen ever.
Mm-hmm.
Ever. And now, my face is all broken out because I think I wore sunscreen too much. And now I look like...
You need to find a balance.
I know. Oh my God. I'm just going to wear a hat. A big, big hat. And just, it's like wearing an umbrella, I think.
That's what I did when my parents threw like a 4th of July party last weekend. And I wore a huge sun hat and a long sleeve shirt in the pool. And I only put sunscreen on my hands. And I was totally fine.
Nice. I went on a ghost tour again in St. Augustine, and I learned some new stories, and I will have to tell them probably on another, maybe I'll tell them, closer to October, because we just don't have time to get into all of them, but apparently there is one that was like, she's the St. Augustine's youngest ghost. She died in like the 70s and was just a hateful lady. And
wow.
They kept trying to, like, do Airbnbs in her house, like, after she died. And they never worked.
That's hilarious.
They never worked. There's, like, a bar open on downstairs or whatever. But there's, like, a whole story. And I went with my cousin, Amy. Shout out, Amy. Love you. And we saw some, maybe something around the fort.
Oh.
Some picture anomalies that we were trying to debunk, and we still can't figure out how they were there. So, and we were taking with 2 different phones, 2 different cameras in the same spots and stuff. And hers showed like little lights where mine didn't. And we have like the same phone and stuff. So, might be something, might be nothing. But
interesting.
It was super busy, so all the ghosts were probably hiding because it was the day before the 4th of July.
Oh, yeah. There's going to be a lot of people at the Castillo.
And also, shout out to the lady that showed up to St. Augustine Ghost walking tour in high heels. Don't know how you made it, but good on you.
Good for her.
Don't know how. Good for her. I mean, honestly, if she could rock it, that's cool. I would break an ankle.
Yeah.
I wore tennis shoes and socks for circulation. Like
your compression socks.
But they were short. They were short socks. But they were still of the circulatory health. Oh, how was your 4th week?
It was
other than
good.
Your pool party.
It was good. I stayed home on the 4th of July with my dog.
Good.
And I've been playing a new video game and avoiding the heat outside. So that's what I've been doing.
That sounds lovely. It does sound lovely. We had lots of funny things happen in the first few nights. Like my sister-in-law, Drona, and I ended up in like dark alleys at 10 o'clock at night by ourselves somehow.
Oh, that's fun.
While we left Nick at the bar because we didn't want to be at the bar and he didn't want to walk around. So we just left him there. We saw a guy on a horse-drawn carriage yell at a pedestrian right in front of us, too. It was awesome. We were sitting in chairs. They pulled up, started fighting, and then left. It was like a show.
I can imagine there's a more fun activity to do in Florida than people watch.
It's amazing. Because especially St. Augustine, people come from all over. I've literally, in my entire life of going to St. Augustine, never seen it so busy. And it's just, there's a whole lot of kinds out there. So, but everyone was, for the most part, very nice and fun to be around. And I mean, my group was. There were like 20 of us there. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. It was fun. So
I'm glad you had fun.
Yeah. Now let's get into this very quickly turned around episode. Y'all, I want you to know I started researching this episode this morning. And it is coming out in 2 days. And my son's having his tonsils out at 6:30 in the morning tomorrow morning. So if this is late, don't yell at us, okay?
We're doing our best, okay?
We're trying so hard. Okay, let's get into the skit.
Let's do it.
It's 1893 in Chicago. 2 women are sitting on a bench with their refreshments after walking miles in the heat of summer and discussing all they saw and tasted that day. Have you had the orange cider yet? It's so good.
Yes, it was horrible. How do you have another cup of that stuff?
Horrible? This is the best shit I've ever had. It tastes like how hugging a puppy feels.
What does that even mean?
You know, just good for the soul.
Whatever. It tasted like vinegar and halitosis to me.
Wait, where did you get it?
From that booth over there in the corner.
Oh, that's what's wrong. You need to go to the Florida exhibit and get the good stuff. The stuff from that other booth tastes like feet.
How are they even different? How do you know what feet taste like? Never mind. Don't answer that. Just take me to the Florida exhibit, please.
Orange cider and its quirks was just one of the many attractions that brought people to the now famous 1893 World's Columbian Exposition, or also known as the Chicago World's Fair. I don't know why it has 2 names. I did Google it because I thought, because everything you see that's official, it says like World's Columbian Exposition. But then like we now refer to it as the Chicago World's Fair in like modern day. Even the websites that I was getting all the information from was like chicagoworldsfair.com. They're kind of interchangeable, it turns out.
Okay.
That's as best as I could figure out. They're kind of interchangeable.
Maybe the Chicago World's Fair is a way to differentiate this World's Fair from other World's Fairs?
That's kind of what I was thinking, is that they were calling it like the World's Columbian Exhibition, but it is kind of like it is in the World Fair family. So when you say the Paris World Fair, you know which one that is, or all the other World Fairs. They're just like, oh, this is a Chicago one. So they also called it the White City, and I will explain why in a bit. But so yeah, we're talking about the World's Fair. I'm gonna call it the World's Fair because I don't, the other name is too long for me. So it's the fair. So why are we doing this?
The
Do
world.
You know why they had it? Because the world. No, they wanted to celebrate the 400th anniversary of Columbus sailing the ocean blue.
Oh.
I know. So we can overlook that. Right? And they actually had planned on it being 1892 because that would have been the
400 years, yeah.
But I don't know exactly what happened, but something delayed them, so it was 1893, so it was like 401st anniversary.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So they know they want to do it, but where? Where are they gonna do it? So on February the 24th of 1890, Congress came and they voted. There were boosters from New York, Chicago, St. Louis, and Washington there to kind of, persuade people, because all the towns wanted that World's Fair to be in their town, because think of like the economy boom.
Oh yeah.
And literally would put them on the map. Not like these towns needed to be put on the map.
Right.
But unfortunately, it would not take just one vote to get there, because they need majority rule voting of 305 votes to finalize where the location will be. And on this first vote, Chicago got 115, New York got 72, St. Louis 61, Washington 56, and then another one got thrown into the mix. Do you have any idea of what that other one was?
My first thought was Indianapolis for some reason.
Cumberland Gap. One guy voted for Cumberland Gap.
Why?
I don't know.
He's like, I want it to come to my town. Cumberland Gap.
It wasn't specifically Cumberland Gap, Tennessee. It was on the Kentucky side of the Cumberland Gap, which is a pass through the Appalachian Mountains near Kentucky, Virginia, and Tennessee, for y'all that don't know. It's like this, literally a pass in the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, they don't really know why, he voted for Cumberland Gap, and it was Middlesboro, Kentucky, that was petitioning them, because they were like, it would be awesome. And it was really funny. They had this map, and they were showing, like, we would have 28 million people within the range to come to the fair. But that map, the range was, like, from Florida to Illinois. So,
I don't think what Middlesburg you said is what it's called. Middlesboro,
Kentucky.
I don't know if Middlesboro is that big.
There's only like 9,000 people there right now.
Yes, bringing 27 million people from around the world to. Okay.
Cumberland. Oh my God! And the funniest thing is that one of their like promotional like paintings, because it was the 1800s, they had to paint it.
Yeah. It
was like a painting of the Cumberland Gap with just a fucking Ferris wheel in the middle of it.
That's great.
Yeah, I mean, some saw the potential, and it, of course, did not come into fruition, though. And there were talks. Apparently, Cumberland Gap was like, people were like, this is an up-and-coming place, and it's the Cumberland Gap now. Mm-hmm. So, you know, they had big dreams. Morgan.
They did have really big dreams. Bless them.
So, after the site's chosen, we're going to Chicago. They have to choose, like, how do they design this shit, right? This is one of the biggest endeavors ever. Like, I did not know how incredibly big this thing was. But
it was basically like a city in and of itself, right?
A city. And I'll get into, like, how big it was. How long do you think, when you think of the World's Fair, how long was it open in your brain?
I feel like I read something a while ago or watched something about the World's Fair, and I know it lasted a while. Like, I don't remember if it was a few months or longer, but I know it was, like, not just, like, a week. This was, like, a long time.
It was from May the 1st of 1893 to October the 30th of the same year.
Wow. So
May, June, July, because I'm counting all of May. So May, June, July, August, September, 6 months.
Wow.
Of a fair.
That's a long fair.
in my brain, when you say a fair, I'm like, oh, it's a big thing, so it'll last, a month.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 2, 6 months. Crazy. So they had to get around to designing it. So they had just a couple years. Remember, they voted in 1890. So they had 3 years to 2.5 years to get this thing together. So the board supervising the fair invited Frederick Law Olmsted with his partner Harry Codman, and he was America's premier landscape architect, to develop the site for the fair.
Okay.
And he chose on the edge of Lake Michigan, and along the lake itself, a series of artificial pools and canals would kind of like make islands.
Okay.
And then they raised terraces for buildings. And it was just, I do have pictures of like the map, or like if you look at the first picture, you can just see, look at all the canals and islands, and this thing is wild.
That's huge. It looks like it's kind of funny, like with that little thing sticking out on the right, it looks like the southern border of the United States. Like it looks like the US, like the basic shape of it from here.
Oh my God, it does. And do you see at the very tippy top, there's that little bulge at the top?
Yes.
That's the Ferris wheel.
Oh my God.
That's
oh my
far
God.
away.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's like...
That over there is Midway, that strip right there.
Holy shit.
It's huge.
That is...
I mean, look at these full-size boats next to these buildings.
That's insane.
And only 2 of the buildings still stand. The rest of them were built as temporary buildings.
That's crazy.
Yes. So, they gotta make them look pretty. So, Daniel Hudson Burnham, he was of the Chicago Architectural Partnership, Burnham and Root. He was the chief of construction for the fair, and he loved the canal island built up terrace idea, and he suggested that the greatest architects from the time contribute designs for the buildings. And these contributors included Richard Morris Hunt, who built the facade of the Metropolitan Museum in New York.
Oh,
Charles
wow.
McKim from the New York Public Library, Robert Peabody and George B. Post from the New York Times building, Henry Van Brunt, Louis Sullivan, and William LeBron Jenney, who designed the Home Insurance Building of Chicago, among the first with a steel skeleton.
Oh, okay.
And the sculptor Augusta St. Gaudens, so sorry if I messed that up, as the artistic director. He oversaw the decorative program of the fair to make sure it all meshed. And it was very Greco-Roman kind of vibe. It's really cool. And this included works by Daniel Chester French, who would later go on to create the statue of Lincoln for the President's Memorial, and the Impressionist painter Mary Cassatt.
Wow.
And it was said that, quote, the general comradeship and fervor of the artist was delightful to witness and more delightful to fall into. So these people worked very well together.
I can imagine like the creative energy just surrounding all these people.
Oh, to be in that room while they're like, oh, what if we did this and what if we did that, you know? Oh my God. So, the size of it. It spanned across 686 acres on Chicago's south side.
That's crazy. I can't believe there's enough of Chicago open where they could build on over 600 acres. Almost 700 acres.
And the main fairgrounds were Jackson Park between 56th and 67th Street, and then Lake Michigan on the east, and Stony Island Avenue on the west. And I do have a link to the interactive map kind of the fairgrounds main, the biggest buildings. Okay. So I'll link that in the show notes. So we've got obviously 686 acres. So we've got different places, kind of different sections. So it's all kind of fuffled, but I'll do my best to try to break them apart. So they had the Midway Palisades. If I said that wrong, I'm just going to call it Midway from now on. And that's that strip in the back that kind of sticks out where the Ferris wheel is. So that's where a lot of the exhibits from other cultures were, and we'll get into those later. But also things like it had kind of a circus vibe where there was like the Ferris wheel and other like attractions and not just like exhibitions.
Okay.
And things like that.
So it's more like
kind of like
more like a carnival. Yeah,
it felt kind of fairy carnival-ish kind of vibe over there. But then the rest of it was very like a little more official. So the great exhibition halls, these are the 14 biggest ones. The first one is the Palace of Fine Arts. That is now the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago. That one still stands.
Okay.
They had a fisheries building, a women's building, U.S. government building, horticultural building, manufacturers and liberal arts building, transportation, electricity, mines and mining, administration, agricultural, machinery, forestry, anthropological building. So those are the 14 biggest ones.
It sounds like a career fair almost. Like, you know what I mean?
So much. So, yes. And there was also a building called the World's Congress Auxiliary Building. That is now where the Art Institute of Chicago is. So that's the other building that still stands.
And I've been there. That's cool.
Oh, you have? Sorry, I choked on my tea when you said that.
Oh, you're good. No, when I went to Chicago with Corey, we went to the Art Institute and had a good time there.
It's a really cool building. It looks really cool. So most of the fairgrounds in its building, except for those few things, and there's a couple other like statues here and there that still exist, they were constructed very quickly and they knew they were going to be temporary. So they would build them up very quickly, and they invented something new for this World's Fair. And they called it a compressed air squirt gun. And it was used to paint the buildings a generic white. They invented the paint spray gun for the World's Fair. And that's why it's called the White City, because they just painted everything white.
Oh, cool.
Right?
Yeah. I love innovation.
I do too.
I bet it made everything a lot easier too, to just spray paint everything. Instead of having to roll it on, or I don't even know if they had rollers at the time, so they had to like paint and like paint strokes.
Oh my God, that would have taken forever.
Cool.
So they also had state buildings, and there were 25 buildings that showcased pretty much the coolest part of every state we had at that point. They had foreign buildings, and there were around 50 foreign nations and colonies that were showcased, I guess, exhibited. But 18 of these had their own unique buildings.
Cool.
And then the rest of them just kind of were on the campus. So we've got France, Ceylon. It's Ceylon.
I think it's Ceylon. I think it was like Burma.
Okay.
It's somewhere near India. I remember because that's where Fighting Jack was born. fighting Jack Churchill was born. Sorry, super random.
Oh, yeah. Can't believe you remembered that. Okay.
I can't remember it. Don't know why either.
Sometimes I remember the most random things from our previous episodes, and I'm like, why did my brain latch on to that of all things? So we've got Norway, Costa Rica, Guatemala, Colombia, Germany, Spain, Brazil, Turkey, Venezuela, Sweden, East India, Haiti, New South Wales, Canada, Great Britain, and Japan. And those were the ones that just had a building.
Okay.
So, and then there were, 32-ish others. They, of course, had restaurants, medical services, music halls, comfort stations, public services. And 800 sculptural works were exhibited in the galleries of the Palace of Fine Arts itself. And then they had those that were around the great exhibit halls. And those sculpture structures was the Statue of the Republic, Columbian Fountain, the rostral columns. We've got the lion, the bull, the draft horses, a buffalo and grizzly bears, panthers, moose, polar bears, jaguars, elk, and then we got a cowboy on a horse, and it's called Indian on a horse, but Native American on a horse. So, but they were just scattered. Some of those have survived. I don't know exactly which ones, but some of them have survived. So, that's how big it is. What?
You know what? That sounds like, when you're talking about like the restaurants and all the different, one, it reminds me of Epcot. And two,
yes,
it sounds so fun.
I was getting Disney vibes the whole time. Like, it is their Disney. Like, there's like a Ferris wheel to ride. There's other things to ride. There's all these things from other cultures. You get food, you get drink. You came from across the country to this thing, and there's thousands of people around you. It's just vibes. Like the Disney
It's like a
vibes.
theme park.
Yes. And the thing that makes this thing so cool is actually my next point. Is like, what's so great about it? Just in the Court of Honors building, which is another building that I didn't even mention because there's too many to name. Mm-hmm. It held some of the newest inventions and appliances for like your house, your farm, all that stuff. Most of which was powered by electricity. So these people are coming in here and seeing things that they didn't even know existed because they've never seen electricity before.
You're right, yeah. Is it this World's Fair that when we were talking about like inventions like last year, in one of our bonus episodes, you mentioned the invention of the dishwasher. Was it this World's Fair?
Yeah, you knew. Oh, you called it. I was going to plug our episode there, but we already did it. So go back and listen to that one because it's really good. But they had electric incubators for chicken eggs. Oh, wow. They had electric chairs for executions.
Oh.
That's, we're going up and down, okay? We had the electric sidewalk. So, like, the moving sidewalk.
Like the conveyor belt. Oh, cool.
Yeah. The early fax machine. And it sent pictures over telegraph lines.
What?
Electric irons. Sewing machines and laundry machines that were electric. And Thomas Edison's kinetoscope.
Can I admit
We're
something
all
to
at
you?
this fair. Huh?
Can I admit something to you?
Yeah.
I have no idea how fax machines work. They're magic to me.
Can I admit something to you too? I don't know either. We're dumb together.
When you were saying that, like, the first fax machine, and it was sending pictures over telegram lines, I was like, wait. Excuse me? What?
Does
How?
not compute.
What? I don't even know how modern fax machines work. Oh my god. I need just 5 seconds to process that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if anyone could tell us how those work, that would be lovely. We don't know. We just know if we hit buttons, doop, 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 picture come out other side.
I just know that when I try to send faxes, it never works.
Yeah. Maybe you should use the telegraph lines.
It would probably work better, honestly.
Probably. Honestly. So even Edison's light bulb, the electric light bulb, that was 14 years old at this point, was a big novelty because a lot of people had never even seen a light bulb before.
That's insane.
And
That's
it
so
just
cool.
was astonishing to see the court light itself up at night.
Oh my gosh. Like magic, I'm sure.
Yeah. And they had donkey races, boat and swim races at the lagoon, international tug of war contests, tightrope walking, parachute drops. That's all in just the one area.
That sounds so fucking fun.
No!
Let's get a time machine and go to the World's Fair.
Please, I was literally just going to say, can we time travel?
I want to go. I want to dress up in Victorian era clothing and sweat to death walking around this World's Fair, please. Thank you.
Can we take the good deodorant with us, though?
Yes. Can I bring a little secret electric mini fan with me?
Absolutely.
It'll be a marvel for the ages.
Oh my god, we could just decorate it to make it look like it's just something that from that time.
Yeah. Oh, I bought it from that guy over there.
We'll have to bring extra batteries, though.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
If we're going to be there for 6 months, we'll need extra batteries.
We're gonna need it. So there's also all this water, right? Mm-hmm. Everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know what also was a fairly new invention around this time? Electric boats. And they were quieter and a lot smaller than the steam-powered boats, and they just carried fairgoers around. They just carried them around. So, there were also Venetian gondolas. Sorry, I'm scratching my back at the same time. I believe I'm starting to peel.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, no. So I'm scratching my back with a screwdriver. That's what I had on my desk. So there were Venetian gondolas, a Norwegian Viking ship that was rumored to have been sailed over from Norway.
Was not the Vasa, correct?
Not the Vasa. It made it. It made it out of harbor.
Okay.
And a Japanese dragon boat.
That's amazing.
And replicas of the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria.
Ah, because it's a Columbian exposition.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, I
that
see.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes. So, the World's Fair Steamship Company ran ferries from Midtown to the fair with live music on board and the best view of Chicago for only 15 cents.
Wow.
I know. Okay, take what you have in your bank account. Time travel will be billions.
Oh my god. We could buy the thing.
Could buy the World's Fair. Yeah.
No, I don't have that much money. But we could definitely live in a penthouse at the World's Fair for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So then we've got Midway. Oh my god, I'd never have to cook again. I love that. Okay, so Midway. Like I said, this is where a lot of the entertainment was. And it's kind of separate from the World's Fair. I mean, if you look at a map, I do have other maps down there. But also look at the architecture of these pictures.
Just, oh, wow.
Look how white and beautiful and just... It's like the white is almost, just because it's so bright, it's just stunning. Just in your face. And so if you scroll down, okay, so it's like an orangish map. The midway is that strip that sticks out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so
the fair
everything,
is like...
Just to clarify, the fair is just like the strip of land and then the midway sticking out from it. Not the land that's on either side of the midway is not also the fair.
Correct.
Okay, because I thought the fair went all the way back, like in that. Like,
oh,
over.
No.
And I was like, oh my God. Okay.
That's just that midway is that strip. I guess it wasn't occupied or something like that at the time.
Okay.
So they used it as the fair, but then all that in that like triangle kind of shape.
I see.
Yeah. So George Washington Gale Ferris's gigantic Ferris wheel was at the midway. And this was the first. There were other versions, but this was the first one of like the design of how we see it today. So the modern Ferris wheel.
The first iteration of like what we know of Ferris wheels.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it looks pretty much the same.
Cool.
So this is a direct response to Gustave Eiffel's tower in Paris.
Oh, okay.
So he was trying to like up them, right? It was 140 feet tall and had a 250-foot diameter wheel. And at its apex, at its very tippy top, you were higher than the crown of the Statue of Liberty.
Oh my God.
And at 50 cents per person, 1.4 million riders went for 2 revolutions on this Ferris wheel.
Wow.
And later, a New York entrepreneur ordered a half-size wheel for his park on Coney Island.
Oh, wow.
Uh-huh. And this is a fucking wild story. Okay, so during the time at the World's Fair, apparently this guy and his wife had been on the Ferris wheel before, said the views were just beautiful and you should go up there. And he was like, I don't really do good at heights. Every time I go up really high, I have the uncontrollable urge to fling myself off the side.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think I should go up there. And she's like, oh, it's so gradual, you won't even know it's going up. So he got on anyway. So he got up. They were at the top, and he just went fucking nuts. And he was like he literally bent the bars to try to jump.
Oh my goodness.
And like 2 men like wrestled him to the ground because they're not like you sit next to each other.
Mm-hmm.
You're standing in.
Were they like the cages almost?
Like yeah. You stood in whatever or sat. I don't know, but you were enclosed. So they went 2 full rotations before they let anybody off. So they got to the bottom and then wouldn't stop. So he's going back up now.
Oh no.
So they're like, oh my God, what do we do? Like the 2 guys that were holding him down before couldn't hold him down anymore. He's trying to fling himself off the freaking Ferris wheel. So you know what this lady, this other passenger does? Takes off her top skirt, which was very immodest at the time.
Yes. And
just put the skirt over his head. like you're trying to calm an ostrich. And he literally calmed down like an ostrich would.
So this man was just a bird.
This man was a bird. A lady married a bird. So she held him there, and then they went down. He got off. They gave her a moment to let her put her skirts back on and then went on. She went unnamed. She's like, I'm not going to be known for this. I don't know.
Wow. That's a wild tale.
I know.
So glad he didn't fling himself off.
Literally, the doctors were like, I don't know. It's a brain disease. You just want to jump when you're high. I don't know.
Because there is like a thing that people get where it's called the call of the void, but when people are in like high places, there is that urge like jump, you know.
Yeah.
But most people have good enough impulse control where they don't.
Well, apparently he has shit-ass impulse control.
Because he was literally bending bars, being like, let me flee myself.
He was, like, crazy. People were, like, hiding from him. He's like, I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm just trying to
let me eat.
Kill myself.
Let me eat.
I want to fly.
Well, I'm glad he was okay after all that. Oh, my goodness.
Me too. So the fate of the Ferris wheel is interesting. So after the exhibition, the Ferris wheel was moved to Lincoln Park, and then later to the St. Louis World's Fair in 1904, and then they blew it up with dynamite when they were done with that.
Okay. Why not?
I know. Why not? So, more about the Midway. The Midway performers included a very young man by the name of Harry Houdini.
Oh.
Ragtime pianist Scott Joplin.
Oh.
And Buffalo Bill Cody and his Wild West show.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
Why were we not there?
Let's time travel.
There were also beauty contests, like dwarf elephants, two-headed pigs, boxing matches, Hindu jugglers, like wild stuff. And this is one of the first times, like, hungry Americans were just being offered, like, food and sandwiches and fizzy carbonated drinks, because apparently that debuted here, too. It was fairly new then.
Yeah, it's right around the time that carbonation was invented.
Yeah, so these people are like, what is this? Oh my God, the bubbles. They had speakers from Jane Addams and Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton.
Wow.
And lawyer Clarence Darrow, Woodrow Wilson, and Samuel Gompers, and
wow,
all these people. So then we have the international exhibit. And there were German and Irish villages, mosques, Cairo Street, Cairo, duh. Cairo. They had a Native American reservation, and they had Daomian villagers, which I believe is maybe of Black descent, I believe, okay. And Algerian belly dancers. But literally the title of this next section is racism, because of course there was. There was no acknowledgement of the 8 million African Americans in the United States. They wouldn't let them in.
Oh my God, that's awful.
Yep. So Frederick Douglass complained that the only examples of an African culture on display were the villagers at Dahomey. I believe that's how you say it, and if I'm saying it wrong, please correct me. He organized a Colored People's Day at the fair and was ridiculed, it said, until he spoke. So Douglass said, quote, "We Negroes love our country. We fought for it. We ask only that we be treated as well as those who fought against it."
Well, yeah.
This
is after the Civil War, and they are citizens.
Yes.
They should be treated like so.
Exactly.
Especially when you compare to the literal traitors who 30 years prior wanted to, like, create their own country.
It's like, can you treat us as well as you've treated your enemy? Like, yeah. What the fuck?
Yeah.
So, among other things, this was kind of one of the largest reconciliatory events, like trying to, we're talking women's rights and, all rights, Native American rights, like, people were advocating during this time. And at one of the Native American exhibits, it was organized by the curator of the Peabody Museum of Harvard University. And one of the staff members, Emma Sickles, criticized it and was like, she said, quote, it was used to work up sentiment against the Indian by showing that he is either savage or can be educated only by government agencies. Every means was used to keep the self-civilized Indian out of the fair, end quote. She was fired for saying that. She was just saying, like, hey, you're not really painting them in a good light.
Yeah.
And she was fired. Which I'm sure they weren't. I mean, the only people of color that were at this fair were not there as participants. They were there to be gawked at.
Yeah.
Which I hate that. I hate that so much. There's like so much good in this fair, but there's always this, because of the times, like this dip of just like, ugh. Mm-hmm. So let's change directions a little bit. Okay. I know. Boo. Something a little lighter.
Okay.
You know, like maybe a theme song.
I like theme songs.
So, yeah. Yeah. So throughout the entire fair, there was one specific song that was played by groups from like John Philip Sousa's band.
Oh, wow.
To like marimba quartets and everyone. And it was a song called After the Ball. So, self-trained musicianal composer and lyricist Charles K. Harris was from Milwaukee, and he claimed he wrote the song in an hour in 1892 at the age of 25. And this song, I'm not going to go into a whole lot too much about it. It's really just kind of upbeat for the time and talking about, like, I think two lovers that, like, after the ball, they went their separate ways or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But this song sold over 2 million pieces of sheet music in 1892 alone.
Oh, my God. Well, good for him.
With a profit of 16 cents on each.
He could afford a lot of ferry rides.
He was earning over $1,000 a day.
Wow. In 1892?
Yeah.
I'm doing the math. Holy shit. That is $34,513.08.
Okay, so I'm going 34,500 a day?
A day.
Times 365. $12,500,000. Closer to 12.6.
Wow.
He made that year.
He was a wealthy man from that one song he
shat
out in an hour.
Yeah. But things weren't going very good. I mean, for him, they were going great.
Yeah.
But it exploded in popularity. And, let's just say, you know how songs get overplayed nowadays? Okay, imagine walking down Disney and from about 4 different locations, you hear the same song being played by 4 different bands.
Let's go with It's a Small World, because that's Disney. That would be very annoying very quickly.
Yeah. So people were so tired. There was one report where this guy started humming it, and a group of people picked him up and threw him out.
It's a very funny mental image.
One person got shot, not fatally, but like because somebody was trying to like sing the song out loud, and then a fight broke out, and then someone shot into a crowd.
Oh my God.
And at the end, they were like, well, at least she didn't sing the song.
Because it would have been deadly. Oh my gosh.
Worse than the shot. So, all right, so we know a lot about the fair and kind of its vibe. So how would you get there, Morgan? What would be your mode of transportation in 1893?
Well, I feel like it's before the car, so I assume, like, horse or train were, like, really the only options.
Right. Have you ever tried mailing yourself in a box?
I have not.
Well, on July 28th, there were only a few events going on that day. It was kind of a slow day. It was a Friday, and a box got delivered to the animal arena, and it contained something quite interesting. So there were unusual sounds emanating from the crate. So they called the fair police, and they opened it with a hatchet. Why? They knew there was a living thing in there, and they hacked it open. Don't know. But, quote, let me just quote this for you. When the Adams Express agent noticed it was a human inside the crate, he sent for the Columbian guard. Captain Jamar arrived at the scene and struck the box with a hatchet. A tiny American flag popped out of the top. Then a latch door opened, and out of the box crawled a plump little man with a big mustache. He smiled and bowed at the stunned audience, dressed in a red and yellow checkered suit and wearing kid gloves. The stowaway waved his flag and shouted, "Hurrah for Hagenbeck's," which Hagenbeck's was the animal place. So his name was Herman Zeitung. And this kind of wasn't his first time shipping himself in a box. He kind of was notorious for doing it all over Europe. But he was a little man. He was only between 4 and 5 feet tall.
Oh, so he's a little man. Okay.
He was a little man. Yeah, they referred to him as a dwarf. Man
with a big mustache.
They referred to him as a dwarf, so we know that he is a little person.
Okay.
Yes. So, yeah, well, we know that's not a good term, so little person. Quote, a good-natured, jolly-looking little man and a cheerful Christmas pudding-shaped face.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
I feel like if you call someone pudding face, that's not really a nice thing to say.
I know, but it's like, what the fuck is that? But I thought this one was good. Quote, when once he begins to talk, you lose the sense of his physical smallness and become aware of his courage and tenacity of a man, and withal of his sense of fun and describing certain terrors experienced in the journey.
Where did he mail himself from? Did it say?
He was from Austria, but he mailed himself for this from New York. So he had somehow gotten to New York. And he kind of came up with this on his own. He put himself in a box, like called the called the mailing company and was like, hey, I've got a box of carpets I need to ship. Got in the box and was carpet for a while. He was told that the rate would be $7.15, but when they found him in the box, he was told he was going to have to pay $41 because that's the corpse charge.
I'd be like, excuse me, I'm clearly not a corpse.
Yeah. And then the fair demanded 50 cents for the entrance fee. And he had no money, so he went to jail instead. He was charged with disorderly conduct and spent the night in jail.
This jolly man.
But he was not the first person to ship himself to the fair. 4 days earlier.
Oh my God.
A young, blonde-haired man wearing a knit undershirt, knickerbockers, and stockings emerged from a wooden box, frantically waving an Austrian flag and the stars and stripes, and he yelled, I greet you all! I am old Viennese boy myself, and hurrah for old Vienna. Old Vienna was like one of the places in the fair.
What are the odds that two Austrian men within a week mail themselves to the same place?
Well, it's kind of funny because he knew that Herman was kind of notorious for mailing himself, got wind that he was going to mail himself to the fair from New York, got inspiration from the other guy, and he mailed himself from New York too.
Wow.
Within the same week. Can you imagine opening the first one and being like, what the fuck is this? And then the second, in the same week, you're like, why? What?
Why do we keep getting men in boxes?
I don't understand. And he did say that there was a point where the box was over 156 degrees because he brought a thermometer with him.
Oh my God.
And he really thought he was going to die for a minute. But he didn't.
I can't believe he didn't in that kind of heat.
Seriously. And he ended up spending a night in jail as well. Pretty much the same deal. Disorderly conduct. Yeah. And it said, quote, the Exposition people were getting a little tired of receiving miscellaneous human freight.
Yeah, I can imagine so.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
So, not everybody loved the fair because it's just overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
So, Hamlin Garland, who's a Pulitzer Prize winning author of over 40 books, told his parents, and this is quoted over the fair, like, this is a famous quote apparently from the fair, sell the cook stove if necessary and come, you must see this fair. So his parents came from a very rural area, and after just a couple hours, his mother was like, quote, take me home, I can't stand any more of it. It was just overwhelming for a lot of people.
Okay.
Because, like, there's so much shit going on.
Mm-hmm.
And he was quoted, even his dad, after the third day, was like, I'm done. I want to go home. So, he said in one of his books, in truth, they both surfeited with the alien, sick of the picturesque. Their ears suffered from the clamor of strange sounds as their eyes ached with the clash of unaccustomed color. My instant haste, my desire to make up in a few hours for all their past deprivations seemed at the moment to have made a mistake. So,
their 1800 sensibilities couldn't handle all the hustle and bustle.
No. I mean, if you're from a rural town, never seen electricity before, you walk into one of these places and you're either going to be very overwhelmed or very, like, just enamored and just amazed.
Oh, and all the people that are there,
yeah.
I mean, I don't even know if you get into, like, the hygiene of the situation. I mean,
not really, but we can all imagine.
Yeah, I can absolutely imagine it being just completely overwhelming of all the senses, for sure. Yeah. And everything's painted white, and the sun is, like, blaring down, like, reflecting all that white. So, yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So, let's get into some notable exhibits. So, the United States Government Building had a view of the colonial exhibit in the rotunda. And it had, in the 6 alcoves, the Board of Lady Managers displayed relics from the 13 original states. And those had never before been seen.
Okay.
And this included a Bible from the Mayflower, a fragment of Plymouth Rock, a silver mug once belonged to George Washington, a silver cake basket used by John Hancock, a silver brazier owned by Paul Revere, an autograph letter from General Lafayette, and, sorry, Lafayette. I'm thinking of Georgia. It's Lafayette, Georgia. And one super cool thing. Tea from the Boston Tea Party.
Wow.
So apparently it was put in a bottle, and I don't think, if I had to guess, it was probably still in leaf form, but it was in a bottle, and it was found in the boots of Colonel Abner Cheever, who was one of the participants in the Boston Tea Party.
Wow.
And he, like, held on to it.
Those are all really cool artifacts, honestly.
Yeah, those are super cool. I would have loved to see those things. So you ready to get into some other interesting exhibits?
Yes.
Now, again, this is just a fraction of what was there, but some of the more interesting things. They had a replica of the Statue of Liberty made out of salt.
Okay.
They had a tower of light bulbs. They had a 1,500-pound chocolate Venus de Milo, which somehow did not melt.
That's incredible.
This one's ew. You could buy a souvenir bale of cotton from the former slave who grew it.
Okay.
Not like in the former slaves were controlling it kind of a thing.
Oh, it's more like, look at this relic of the past kind of way.
Yeah, and it had only been like 30 years, so like it was not in good taste. Yeah. They had the orange cider that we discussed earlier, and it got pretty infamous because if you got it at the Florida exhibit, it was really good. But this is when artificial flavors were just being invented. So they wanted to make like a new thing, and people started replicating it at the World's Fair using vinegar, molasses, and other slops is what people said. And people said it was a, quote, soul-destroying concoction.
That's such a vivid way to describe it. You know what? If I drank a drink thinking it was going to taste like orange cider and it was actually vinegar and molasses, yeah, my soul would be pretty destroyed after that.
Pretty destroyed. Horribly destroyed. And they did also, Florida had a tower of oranges. They were the same oranges for the entire fair. How they kept them fresh, I have no idea.
Well, maybe just the outside looked fine, but the inside, who knows? Who knows?
Who knows? French beef tea.
What?
It was advertised as a health drink. Beef tea.
Like bouillon?
Moo cow. Moo cow tea.
Were they just making broth? Like, ew, what? I'm just imagining, I don't know if this is what it was, but it's making me think like someone like tore up a bunch of jerky and then like poured hot water over it. And it's like, look at this health drink. Nasty.
Oh, please don't tell me they wasted good tea leaves adding it to that.
I'm not even imagining there's tea at all. It's just like, just shredded jerky with hot water. And that's it. Just make bouillon.
Yeah, seriously.
Nasty.
Carrier pigeons. They demonstrated their talents, like going across the fair and stuff.
I still need to, I still want to research homing pigeons at some point.
Please do. Big Tree Restaurant in the California exhibit. Did they cut down a giant redwood tree just to make a restaurant in the middle of it? Yes, but it's still kind of cool.
Yeah.
I hate it, but like, I would feel like a little gnome in there. A little gnomey gnome, a little fairy lady, like, in my tree roots. They had a recreation of Davy Crockett's cabin.
Oh, wow.
I could have seen my ancestor.
You could have. if we had time traveled.
We should time travel. We should create that just for this and other things, actually. How did you research? I went there, bitch.
That's how I use the power of time travel for my podcast.
For my podcast. I always come back and we podcast on it. I knew Shakespeare. They had the captive balloon, which was a hot air balloon that was just tied down. So you wouldn't actually, like, go away.
Oh, okay.
So you get the sensation of, like, being on a hot air balloon.
Gotcha.
But unfortunately, a storm did crash it before the end of the...
Aw.
I know.
Is that what's in that second picture?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Sorry, my voice cracked. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They had a 3-ton hunk of cheese from Canada. You look so distraught over a 3-ton hunk of cheese.
That's 6,000 pounds of cheese. Oh my god. Oh my god. How did they get 6,000 pounds of cheese?
I don't know.
From Canada.
They had giant jars of fruit preserves that were 3 feet tall each.
I love the novelty of this. Like, look at that giant jars of jam. Like,
jars of jam.
You can fit 8 children in here.
Come on down, ladies and gentlemen. You don't want to miss the pear preserves.
You can eat so much toast with this jam. Here is our 16-foot-long loaf of bread.
Make sure you get a hunk of the 3-ton cheese. Drink it down with your beef tea.
And vinegar molasses drink. Wow.
Oh, the food in this place was just wild. They had a hall of taxidermy, which included a woolly mammoth.
Oh, gosh.
Another strange thing. I know.
Oof.
They had Montana's Silver Lady, which is a big silver statue. So,
okay,
cool. Montana had a lot of silver mines, so they were really boasting that silver. Germany had, like, a lot of stuff, including things like toy making, but their, like, main thing was the most extravagant stagecoach I have ever seen in my life. I did not get a picture of it. I am so sorry, but, like...
It's okay.
It's bougie. They had an ostrich farm. It's probably where the lady got the idea from subduing that guy on the Ferris wheel.
Well, it's funny. I see, like, below the balloon, I see something about ostriches.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I just saw the balloon and put it on there.
There's the Ferris wheel, and then there's a building below the balloon that says something about, like, maybe California ostrich birds.
It does. Well, shit, look at that. I think this is so cool with, like, the Ferris wheel in the background. And all those little funky buildings are, like, they're different than the rest of it because that's, like, the different cultures buildings right there.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
cool.
That's why they look unique. So they had Hagenbeck's Animal Show. That was where the first guy we talked about got nailed to, but he had, like, elephants, dogs, lions, leopards, the whole 9 yards when it comes to, like, circus things. And he would just straight up take them for a walk on the fairgrounds where people are, like, taking a lion for an evening stroll. The police were very mad about it.
I'm sure.
Yeah. So they had a prison and torture exhibit.
Okay.
Which, some say was kind of like misinformation. They took it from savage countries, quote, I'm doing air quotes here, and kind of not a good, kind of a racist vibe. We don't like that. Apparently they just had a bunch of windmills.
Windmills. Look at them.
I am Kansas. Windmill. Apparently, the first performance of the Pledge of Allegiance was performed.
Oh, okay.
At the World's Fair. I don't know when, but that was said. So, we don't just have cool things. We have these inventions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I looked up inventions that were kind of debuted at the World's Fair that we still use today.
Okay.
Buckle your seatbelt, ma'am.
All right, I'm
Juicy fruit.
It. What?
Juicy fruit.
What?
The gum. Pabst Blue Ribbon.
What?
The fair's where it got its ribbon.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Quaker Oats.
Really?
Cracker Jacks.
What?
Brownies.
What?
Bertha Palmer made brownies just for the World's Fair.
She's changed the world.
She's changed the world.
Thank you, Bertha.
You got Nancy Green telling stories and making pancakes as her character Aunt Jemima.
Oh.
You got the zipper.
What?
You got Wrigley's chewing gum. The automatic dishwasher. Go watch that episode. Go listen to that episode. Like I said, the moving sidewalk and the spray paint. Carbonated soda. Somehow I've got moving walkways on here a third time.
You're really excited about those conveyor belts.
So excited about these.
I don't have to walk when I stand on these. I could just stand there.
And we've got the yellow pencil.
Wow.
And the beef sausage that would become the foundation for the Chicago-style hot dog.
This is overwhelming.
I know. So, of course, it would invite, attract really cool-ass people.
Yeah.
Right?
You would think.
You want me to go over a list of people that, just going off of the list that was provided by this awesome source, I will mention it at the end.
Okay.
But just I just literally went by the names that were familiar to me.
Okay.
So, and they're going to be in alphabetical order, thanks to the source I was typing them from. So,
okay.
John Astor, the rich guy that died on the Titanic.
Oh, yeah.
He was there for a whole week. And some of them were there as guests. Some of them were part of it or something like that. I'm just listing people that were there. I don't have time to get into everything.
Okay.
Clara Barton, the Red Cross nurse. She did speak. Lizzie Borden was there.
Really?
You know the one.
Mm-hmm.
Henry Collier Bunner, he was a novelist. I didn't know his name, but he's important because he's the one that coined the term the White City.
Oh, okay.
Edgar Rice Burroughs.
Oh,
he was the author of the Tarzan series.
I think he also
Carnegie
wrote the Jungle Book.
Probably. I just went off of the very few brief notes I was looking at. But...
Okay. No, actually, he didn't write the Jungle Book. That was Rudyard Kipling. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
How do you remember this? See, I'm telling you, you are the brains. You remember the things.
I don't remember anything useful.
Well, I don't remember anything you don't... I remember the things you don't remember, and you remember things I don't remember. So this is why we work so well together.
Yes.
So we've got Andrew Carnegie, the Carnegie. George Washington Carver.
Oh.
And you know how I said it was giving Walt Disney vibes?
Yes.
We have Elias Disney, Walt Disney's father. He actually helped build the fair. He was a carpenter in Chicago at the time.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Oh, and I bet little Walt may have seen a little bit of it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
We've got Pierre Dupont. DuPont.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas Edison, of course. Wyatt Earp. OK Corral gunfire lawman Wyatt Earp.
Wow.
Franz Ferdinand. Henry Ford. Henry Hines. Like the ketchup.
Wow.
Milton Hershey.
Like the Hershey bar.
Like the Hershey bar. Helen Keller.
Really?
John D. Rockefeller. Franklin D. and Theodore Roosevelt. Mark Twain. Also Samuel Langhorne Clemens. Mark Twain was his pen name. Mm-hmm. Booker T. Washington. Ida B. Wells. Frank Lloyd Wright, the architect, and the Wright brothers.
Wow.
We're all in attendance or a part of it.
That's crazy.
Right?
Those are some really big names for sure.
Can you imagine just walking around and running into all these people?
No.
Like, they don't have industry. I don't feel like there are industry tycoons like that anymore.
At least they're not like household names like all these people are today.
Right. Well, I mean, we've got like, you know, Elon Musk and the shit he's doing, and we've got, you know, social media developers that are big names, but I just don't feel like they carry the grandeur of these names. Mm-hmm. Like,
they don't have the gravitas.
No, they don't. Like Andrew Carnegie, you're like, oh, Carnegie.
Like the one of the richest men to have ever lived, Andrew Carnegie. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that one. It just doesn't hold the same weight anymore, I don't feel. So there are souvenirs, of course, because they're souvenirs. And I could only find a few. There really isn't like a list of like things you could have bought. Mm-hmm. I wish there was. But some things that I've kind of come together, weirdly looking at eBay. But,
okay.
Yeah. So you could have bought a certificate of attendance. So around 14,500 copies were sold, and that is one of the pictures on there. And they were 25 cents each. And they're all a little different because they hired different calligraphers to do the job, because they sold a couple hundred a day, so they're all a little. And it's not like they had handmade.
They didn't have a copier.
Right.
They could have just faxed them all.
That's how that works. It has to be. So after the World's Fair, you could purchase the White City Wish Book, and it was like a toy and holiday gifts catalog. Like, it's one of the first toy catalogs.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah. I found a souvenir spittoon.
Oh.
Yeah. An official, there were tons of programs. There's like your guide to this section that you could have purchased. They had souvenir spoons. And you could get season passes that looked like little monies. Money. Little dollar bills. They were super cute. But it wasn't always, great. Of course, the sanitation issues. I'm going to get into crimes that happened in a minute. Mm-hmm. But there was something devastating. Listen, Chicago at this point, she's a little fire scared. She does not like fire because of the Great Fire.
Right.
So, a large Romanesque structure referred to as the greatest refrigerator on Earth was there, and it stored thousands of pounds of the Exposition's food, and also held an ice skating rink for patrons.
Oh, wow.
It was huge. Unfortunately, it was actually the largest structure demonstrated artificial freezing, which was like a recent development. But it caught fire.
Oh, no.
It was also 130 by 255 feet and was 200 feet tall. It's a big ass fridge.
That is a very big refrigerator. I mean, you could hold an ice skating rink inside.
Seriously. So, on July the 10th, so pretty fairly early on, it caught on fire. Unfortunately, a total of 15 people died, 12 of which were firefighters and 3 civilians.
Oh, man.
In front of, like, 1,000 fairgoers.
Oh, that's awful.
So the only artifact that survived was a 12-foot copper statue of Christopher Columbus, and that is kept as a monument to those who lost their lives, and it is outside of the Fire Museum in Chicago.
Aww. Why does it have to be Columbus's statue that survived?
I don't know.
But, I mean, the fact that it's used as a tribute to those that died, that's a good reason to keep it for sure. Yeah.
So, while we're on kind of a bummer topic, Morgan, put that true crime hat of yours on real quick. Oh. You know what we're about to talk about?
I do.
This is fair adjacent, so I will just briefly talk about the Devil of the White City.
Uh-huh. The supposed first serial killer in the U.S.
Yes. At least documented.
Yeah.
So Herman Webster Mudgett, also known as H.H. Holmes, was a con artist and bigamist who was one of America's first serial killers, if not the first. So he was believed to have killed somewhere between 20 and 200 people. Mm-hmm. Who knows?
Yeah.
And
in
he killed a
lot
of them
horrors.
in Murder Castle.
Ugh.
He was born May 16th, and I put "oh no" beside it because that's my daughter's birthday.
Oh no.
Oh no. He was from a privileged family. He expressed interest in medicine, and like red flags, he practiced surgery on animals.
Mm-hmm.
And some say he was even the cause of death of a friend of his growing up. His life of crime began with frauds and scams. As a medical student at the University of Michigan, he stole corpses and used them to make false insurance claims. And he also might have used them for experiments as well. And he moved to Chicago in 1885, worked in a pharmacy under various aliases. He took over a pharmacy and was rumored to have killed the original owner. So this man is nuts. So he goes out and he builds a 3-story building, and it is literally a house of horrors. The upper floors was where he lived, and it contained torture chambers where he killed people. It had chutes to get to the basement to burn the bodies and dispose. And
he thought that he would lead people to those chutes and drop them.
Oh my God.
Literally the worst things you can imagine happened in this house. House of Horrors, this murder castle. And I don't know if you get into it, but
you know me. I literally put he would have his fiancés disappear, and then I put things happened and I don't want to talk about it. Just know he was on the run for a few weeks.
Yeah.
I just glossed over it.
And before he was caught, he did have plans to do it forever and even expand on his murder castle and build more and more elaborate traps and devices.
Oh my God.
Literal horror show.
Yeah. Well, he was caught. He only admitted to 27, which is 27 too many.
I was about to say only admit 27.
Yeah. He was hanged in 1896 at the age of 34 years old. And he was also quoted saying, "I was born with the devil in me. I could not help the fact that I was a murderer no more than a poet can help the inspiration to sing."
Bullshit.
But, yeah. So, on that note, let's talk about the finale and some recaps.
Okay. Let's move away from
yes
H.H. Holmes, please. Thanks.
So just want I felt like I'd be remiss if I didn't mention it.
You have to. If you talk about
the
World Fair, you have to talk about him, but...
Yeah. And I will say, there were people that stayed in his home because he opened it up as like a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like the misconception of this is that he opened it for the World's Fair, and he didn't. He opened it, and it just so happened to be very convenient to these millions of people coming through that needed a place to stay.
Mm-hmm.
So he would just convince people to come stay in my hotel. I've opened it up to the public. It's, great.
And it was great for him because there's people coming from all over the world who, it's the 1800s.
No one would know if
people
they were missing.
Yeah.
So, kind of final
Mm-hmm.
numbers. 27 million people visited the fair.
That's insane.
The U.S. population at the time was only 63 million. And it was during an economic depression.
Oh, yeah. Goodness gracious.
Okay, so then afterwards, the security department of the fair put out a crimes report, a recap of the shit that happened.
Okay.
There were 954 arrests. Of those, 438 convictions, 94 acquittals, and 1 escape. Don't know anything about it.
Was it the Mr. Austria?
I don't know.
Did he mail himself out of the jail?
Yes. How much for getting carpets out of the fair?
Yeah.
So 421 were arrested for petty pilfering. And this is a sad part. 30 children were lost and only 20 were recovered to parents.
Oh, man. 10 kids missing? Oh, boy.
Yeah. 539 shadowy or suspicious persons.
Oh.
408 reports of people getting over the fence of the fair, like breaking in.
Yeah. Not paying their 50 cents.
1 report of Zulu acting improperly. And the only thing I can figure out is that Zulu is a tribe in Africa, so maybe like one of the foreign spots, somebody was acting improperly and they just had to be kind of a dick about it. So 3 reports of finding a fetus on the ground.
Oh, God. 3?
Yeah. 3.
Oh, God.
I don't know why it was more than 1. Like, I feel like that, I don't know. You know what? I wasn't there. 5 employees were killed.
Oh, no.
135 reports of ex-convicts on the grounds.
Oh, boy.
2 reports of patrol wagons colliding with an ambulance.
Oh, no!
That happened twice.
Look where you're going.
33 reports of attempts to gain admission on fraudulent passes. 30 reports of Kodak cameras without permits. 37 reports of taking photos without a permit. And 10 reports of attempts to pass counterfeit money. And once it was closed, all the shit was torn down.
You know what? I do have to say, considering there were 27 million people at this fair,
yeah,
like, there was a lot of crime that happened, but it feels like there wasn't that much violent crime.
No.
I mean, there were 5 murders, 10 children lost forever.
3 fetuses on the ground.
Yeah, I don't even know what that's about. But it sounds like most of it was just, like, people stealing either their way in or just stealing, like, knickknacks. So I feel like out of 27 million people, it could have been worse. Especially seeing how it's Chicago. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 27 million. Wait. So it was 954 divided by... Am I doing this right? 27. It's 0.00035 of the population got arrested.
Yeah.
So
I feel like it could have
doing
been worse,
okay.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. And that's pretty much what I got. I think some buildings lasted a little longer, but eventually everything got torn down except those 2 buildings, and they moved on. Now, if you want to look at these other pictures, if you scroll way, way down, I don't know why they're taking up a page apiece, but down here at the first picture I have, this is the land you see is 2020, but the roads and stuff is the fair. So they've kind of
superimposed it. Okay.
Yeah, superimposed it. So you can kind of see where everything, and it pretty much follows the,
Yeah, it's not super different. Like, I see it's a little different in the south where it looks like that's the pier.
Right. And then that big building right there. So I think, and a lot of this stuff could be, you remember they built up those terraces, and that was all supposed to be temporary. And this is over like 100 and some odd years. Like, the landscape around water can change vastly.
Yeah, and it really didn't.
Not too much.
No, like, especially this lake that's up here, South Pond. Is that North Pond? North Pond. The font's really small. Sorry.
Oh, where'd it go? Oh, no. There.
North Pond and...
Yeah. There's a lagoon.
Goody Lagoon? Nudie Lagoon? Is it Nudie Lagoon?
I'm just reading lagoon.
There's like
Where are you getting the other word?
Nudie is on like the top part of the lagoon. Do you see like the top point of the lagoon? Oh no, it's lagoon upside down.
I was like, I'm just seeing lagoon. Morgan.
It's tiny print, okay?
Noogie Lagoon. I like Noogie Lagoon.
I was like, that's a weird name for it. Oh, it's lagoon upside down. Sorry.
Do not ever apologize. In your defense, it is teeny tiny little print, so.
Oh boy. Okay. What I was going to say is that the shape of the lagoon and the South Pond don't look any different, really, than they did.
You're right.
100 years ago.
They really don't. Only like the south part is different, and I think a lot of that was just built up at the time.
Yeah. It looks like there was like buildings on top of it a little bit, or like docks or something maybe.
Yep. So that's what I have. Everything was there was some good, there was some bad, and the ugly.
Well, this was a very enlightening episode. Thanks for teaching me more about the World's Fair in Chicago.
Chicago, you're welcome. I think I could have continued to just find stuff about it and made a 17-parter if I wanted to. I did have to cut it off at some point.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm 8 hours into this research today. Just trying to get, my bearings and everything on it. And it's like, it just it keeps going. And the source that I found is, it's World's Fair Chicago 1893.com.
Okay.
You can deep dive into this. Like, they have different articles on different parts, and they're continuously putting new stuff as they find it. So they're really digging into, like, the little small mundane things all the way to, like, the big grand stuff. Because, I mean, it was 1893. It was not as well documented as you would have thought. Mm-hmm. Like, you have to go back and look for all that stuff if you want to find it.
Well, very cool.
Yeah. And there is, like, if you want to get into if you're a true crime girly, like, or guy, like Morgan, you can go find a documentary on it. I wasn't going to get into it. It makes me stressy.
There's plenty of stuff about H.H. Holmes. Just know going into it, it's very rough.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's interesting, and it's important to learn about.
It is. It is very important to learn about. Kind of. I don't want to know any of the details. This is plenty detail for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I actually had a college class that, for some reason, we had a section on this guy.
What? What college class? You were a business major, right?
Yeah. I think it was a communications class.
Here's how to not make a murder castle. Don't do anything this guy did.
I think what it was his, like, persuasiveness.
Yeah.
And, like, how he was able to...
He was incredibly charismatic, and...
Yeah.
I mean, he was a lifelong criminal, but he never really got in trouble for it. Like, he never really spent a lot of time in jail. He was able to smooth talk his way out of almost everything until the end, really. When they had, like... When the police were like, you literally have skeletons in your basement. Yeah. And he was like, I didn't
legitimately
do it. And they're like...
More than me?
Don't. Okay.
No. Yeah. Don't give me that shit. So, you know... If someone asks you, if you're at a fair and someone asks you to stay in their hotel, say no, it's a murder hotel.
Use Yelp reviews to find your hotel.
Google it. Google it. If his name is H.H. Holmes, don't. Okay, well... Hour 42. I did that faster than I thought it was going to.
There you go.
It was only 16 pages of notes.
Oh my goodness.
So, yeah, no. So if I talked kind of fast through that, it's because I'm not trying to keep y'all all night. So, socials?
Yeah, let's do socials.
Yeah. Hold on. We have a Patreon. Like, subscriber, that's the word. Yeah! Oh my God. Christopher!
Thank you so much for subscribing, Christopher. We know you've been a listener for a long time, so we're just so happy that you're still listening to us.
Yes! Have fun binging the Patreon episodes. He said that's what he was going to do when he gave me his address. I swear I won't send you anything weird, just our stickers. So keep an eye out for those in the mail. I'll be sending those out soon.
Yay!
And you're the best. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We love you.
Yeah. So, okay. Now into our, I almost said skit. Oh my God.
We're not starting this over again.
All right. Take two. Our socials. I got too excited about Christopher joining the Patreon.
Her brain just short-circuited.
She's
so
it
happy.
Just stopped. So, Facebook.
Ill-Equipped History Podcast Group and Page.
Gmail.
illequippedhistory@gmail.com.
Instagram.
@ill-equippedhistory.
TikTok.
@ill-equippedhistory.
And Patreon.
Patreon.com/ill-equippedhistory, where you can be cool like Christopher and subscribe. For $5 a month, you get access to our bonus episodes and stickers.
Stickers! Woo, woo, woo.
Oh, and we have a YouTube channel as well. It's just Ill-Equipped History. But all of our podcast episodes are on YouTube.
I mean, You don't see our face. Well, I mean, you do in a picture form, but like, it's not a video yet. We're not there yet. But if you like to listen to them on YouTube, they're there. So, have fun. You know, we should have another World's Fair.
Yeah, they should start these up again.
Seriously, why don't you know how cool a World's Fair would be?
Oh my gosh.
In 2024?
I want, like, I love this sense of wonder from, like, the old-timies. Like, let's have an exhibition where it's just really cool-ass inventions. Like, and, like, different cultures and food and cool rides. Like,
yeah, listen, we have enough, like, conventions that are specialty conventions. Like, the, like, Comic-Cons, and we've got, like, I went to a culinary convention in culinary school. I want it all.
Yeah.
I want it like this. I want to be there for a month and still not hit it all. Like, let's have it. Where are we at?
Let's do it.
What are we doing? Let's put it on. Let's do it, Morgan.
Are we going to wing a World's Fair?
Here we go. We go back in time with our, like, $10.
Mm-hmm.
We make the money back then and we bring it back.
Okay.
So we could make, you know, billions of dollars back then.
Mm-hmm. And bring it to modern day. Back. And just be, like, forever, like, infinity wealthy. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. And we would have a continuous, like, World Fair. It not an amusement park. We'd have a couple things, but, like, a World's Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. And without the racism.
And we'll bring 21st century fireproof materials.
Absolutely. To the cool. Do you think it's kind of ironic that it was the
refrigerator that caught fire?
That caught on fire?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's very ironic.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't you think? It's like rain. Okay. I'm done.
It's ironic.
Okay. I guess we should.
Let's let these good people go home. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, bye.